Eli floated near the observation deck of the orbital station, his hands pressed lightly against the cold metal railing. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before him, stars scattered like distant jewels on black velvet. The hum of the station's life systems was the only sound, a constant reminder that humanity had carved a fragile home out of the void. He had spent weeks mediating disputes among alien species, balancing their often conflicting interests, and now, for a moment, he craved silence. The observation deck was empty, or at least he thought it was. His reflection in the glass was interrupted by a movement beside him. Eli turned sharply, expecting another diplomat or an engineer, but no one was there. Then, slowly, a figure materialized. She was humanoid in shape, but her presence was otherworldly. Her skin shimmered faintly, a soft bioluminescent glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Her eyes, large and liquid, seemed to peer directly into Eli's mind, not aggressively, but with a calm curiosity that was almost unsettling. Who are you?" Eli asked, trying to keep his voice steady. She sat down beside him without a word, her movements fluid, almost like she was gliding rather than walking. Her gaze stayed fixed on the stars beyond the glass. Finally she spoke, her voice a soft whisper that seemed to vibrate directly inside his head rather than through the air. "Tell everyone you chose me," she said. Eli blinked. He glanced around the empty observation deck, half expecting to see someone else there, some hidden camera or an elaborate prank. But there was nothing, just him, her, and the stars stretching endlessly outside. "Excuse me," he asked, his voice faltering. She turned slightly toward him, her glowing eyes holding his gaze. "Tell everyone you chose me," she repeated, calm, almost commanding. "It must be known, it is necessary." Eli swallowed hard. He had encountered aliens before, of course. Some were dangerous, some were curious, some were benevolent in ways humans struggled to understand. But none had ever spoken to him like this, with such certainty, such quiet power. He felt both a shiver of fear and an inexplicable pull, a sense that whatever she represented went far beyond the small politics of the station. I don't understand," he admitted, leaning back slightly, as if distance could shield him from her presence. "Chosen, what do you mean?" She smiled faintly, and it was a strange, alien expression that somehow felt human. "You will understand in time," she said. "There are things coming, things that require humans to act. You have a choice, Eli. A choice that no other species could make." The name startled him. How did she know his name? He hadn't spoken it aloud. "How do you know my name?" he demanded. Her gaze softened, though it still held that quiet authority. "I have been watching, observing. You are exactly the one who can bridge the gap between your kind and the rest." Eli's mind raced. He had always known humanity was underestimated in the larger galactic arena. Other species saw humans as reckless, emotional, unpredictable. And yet, that unpredictability had also saved his people more than once. The wars on Earth, the exploration of the stars, the unyielding curiosity that pushed humans into the unknown, these were traits no other species possessed in such measure. I don't know if humans are ready for anything like that," he said quietly, more to himself than to her. She reached out a slender hand, and for a moment, Eli expected it to pass through him like light, but it rested gently on his arm, warm and real. "Readiness is irrelevant," she said softly. "Potential is everything, and your species has potential like no other." The hum of the station seemed to fade around him. Eli felt a strange connection to this alien, as if her words were unlocking something inside him he hadn't realized existed. Courage, responsibility, something beyond fear or doubt. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you see possibilities where others see limits," she said. "Because you are willing to act when others hesitate, because you are human." The simplicity of the answer struck him. Humans were often underestimated, dismissed as fragile, emotional, or chaotic. And yet, in moments of crisis, humans had achieved the impossible. Perhaps she saw that spark, the same spark that had driven them to reach the stars. Eli leaned back, staring at her, his mind a whirlwind of questions. And yet he couldn't bring himself to step away. Something about her presence demanded attention, demanded trust. He wanted to ask more, to understand, but a warning bell chimed faintly in the distance, pulling him back to reality. He glanced at the station monitors. Nothing appeared wrong, yet a subtle ripple of unease ran through him. He realized the station was never truly quiet, not with an alien like her here. She smiled again, as if sensing his thoughts, and it was both comforting and unnerving. "You will have to tell others," she said again. "Not now, not yet, but soon. The time will come when your choice matters to everyone, and when it does, you must speak the truth. You must choose." Eli swallowed, feeling the weight of her words settle heavily in his chest. "And if I refuse?" he asked. "Then the moment will pass," she said softly. "But nothing will ever be the same again." The hum of the station returned to normal, but Eli felt a quiet tension in the air, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He stared at her glowing form, trying to measure the enormity of what she had said, trying to understand the responsibility that now seemed to rest on his shoulders. And in that silent observation deck, surrounded by stars and the cold metal of human achievement, Eli felt the first real weight of choice in his life. He didn't yet understand the path ahead, or the role humanity was about to play in a galaxy that had always seemed so distant and indifferent. But for the first time, he realized that humans were not merely observers. They were participants. And someone or something had recognized that. Lyra, for that was the name he now knew she carried, watched him with patient expectation. And Eli, feeling a spark of determination, realized that soon he would have to decide whether humanity would rise to the occasion or falter under the weight of its own uncertainty. The next morning, Eli could not shake the feeling that something had changed. The station felt different, though nothing was visibly amiss. He walked through the corridors, trying to focus on the endless paperwork, reports from alien diplomats, and the maintenance schedules that never ended. But Lyra's words echoed in his mind. "You must choose. Potential is everything." He remembered her glowing eyes, the calm authority in her voice, and the warmth of her hand. Even now, he felt the faint pull of her presence, as if she were still beside him, waiting. It made him uneasy, but also alive in a way that months of routine diplomacy had never done. By mid-morning, the station's comms system crackled, and Eli's terminal displayed an unexpected message. A small, sleek ship had docked at a rarely used port. Its design was elegant, almost organic, with flowing curves and light that pulsed gently along its surface. Eli felt a shiver of recognition before he even knew why. The ship was not human. He was walking toward it when he saw her. Lyra was standing near the docking bay, her presence calm yet commanding. She didn't rush, didn't gesture for him to follow. She simply waited, her eyes focused, and Eli realized with a start that she had guided him here invisibly through the maze of corridors and schedules. "You came," she said softly. I didn't know if I should," he admitted. "This is dangerous. People might notice." "Others might. Others will notice," she interrupted gently. "They always notice eventually, but danger is necessary. Humanity's time is coming, and you, Eli, have a role to play." He hesitated, taking in her words. Every instinct in his body screamed caution, yet something deeper pulled him forward, curiosity, a sense of destiny, and an unshakable belief that humans could rise to the challenge. Inside her ship, the interior was unlike anything he had seen before. There were no buttons, switches, or screens. Light flowed along the walls like liquid, shifting in color and intensity. The floor seemed solid, but it responded to their steps as if alive. Eli stepped carefully, marveling at the strange elegance of the design. "I can show you what humans are capable of," Lyra said, her voice echoing slightly in the glowing space. "But you must understand this is not a game. The galaxy is changing. Forces move that you cannot yet perceive. Eli swallowed hard. What do you mean? She gestured, and the walls of the ship shimmered, transforming into a holographic projection of the surrounding galaxy. Stars, planets, and countless vessels swirled in three-dimensional space. Eli's eyes widened. This, she said, is the current map of the political and military alignment of known civilizations. Humans are, at present, a minor power, but your species has potential unlike any other. The traits I see in you, curiosity, resilience, moral reasoning, and the ability to act under pressure, are rare in this galaxy. Eli stared at the display. He had known humans were underestimated, but seeing it laid out so clearly, the tiny blue dot representing Earth in a sea of advanced civilizations, made the scale of the challenge almost frightening. "Why me?" he asked again, the question burning in his mind. "Why not someone else? There are thousands of humans who could do whatever it is you want." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Because you notice the small things. You see patterns others ignore. You act when hesitation could cost lives. That is why I chose you." Eli took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "And what exactly am I supposed to do?" "You must show humanity's value," she said simply. "Not just to me, but to the galaxy. You will face tests of courage, intelligence, and morality. Some may seem impossible, some may seem unfair, but how you respond will define the future of your species." He looked at her, feeling the weight of her words settle heavily on his shoulders. "I don't know if we're ready for that." Lyra smiled faintly, and it was both reassuring and unnerving. Readiness is not required, potential is, and humanity's potential is extraordinary. The ship's lights shifted again, focusing on a distant planet in a contested system. "This is your first test," she said. "A conflict is brewing here, two civilizations locked in standoff. Weapons are advanced, their fleets formidable. Neither side understands the other. Humans can mediate. Humans can resolve what others cannot. You will travel there. You will observe. You will act. And you will show that humanity is capable." Eli's stomach tightened. The task was enormous. Any wrong move could trigger war, perhaps beyond what humans had ever experienced. Yet he also felt a flicker of excitement, the same spark that had driven explorers to sail across oceans and climb mountains on Earth. This was the unknown, the challenge, and humanity was being called to rise. "Will I be alone?" he asked. "No," Lyra replied. "I will be with you. I can guide, suggest, and support. But the choice, the decisions, and the actions, those must come from you, and through you, humanity will be judged." The journey through space was silent except for the hum of Lyra's ship. Eli tried to imagine the standoff, the alien cultures, the fleets of ships. How could humans, fragile and untested on this scale, possibly succeed? But Lyra's calm confidence, her unwavering belief in his species, reminded him of everything humans had already achieved. The first steps on the moon, the survival through countless wars, the breakthroughs in science that had changed life on Earth. Humanity was small, but it was persistent, clever, and adaptable. They arrived in orbit around the planet as dusk fell over its surface. The planet was beautiful, with swirling clouds and oceans of deep blue. But the beauty was deceptive. Scars of previous conflicts were visible, cities abandoned, fleets damaged, resources destroyed in past confrontations. Eli could feel the tension radiating from the planet, even from space. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "Observe carefully. Notice patterns. Consider what is unsaid. Humans are remarkable because they notice, adapt, and act. You must show that same brilliance here." Eli nodded, though fear clutched at his chest. He felt the enormity of the responsibility. These aliens, far more advanced than humanity, were placing their faith in him, in humans. And for the first time, he understood that humans were not insignificant, not irrelevant. They were unpredictable, capable of ingenuity, and above all, capable of choice. As he prepared to descend to the planet's surface with Lyra, he felt a surge of determination. The galaxy might see humans as small, emotional, or reckless, but they also saw potential. And Eli would not fail. He would show that humans could rise above fear, above doubt, and above expectation. He would prove that humanity was worthy of a place among the stars. Lyra's hand rested briefly on his shoulder. "Remember," she said softly, her glowing eyes meeting his, "you are not just acting for yourself. You act for your species. Show them what it means to be human." The shuttle detached from the ship, descending toward the planet. Eli watched the surface grow larger, cities and fleets coming into focus. The air was tense, charged with the possibility of conflict, and yet he felt a quiet confidence building inside him. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived. They had thrived. And now, humanity's potential would be tested in the grandest arena imaginable. As the shuttle neared the planet, Eli took a deep breath. The first real test had begun. Every choice, every action, every thought would ripple through the galaxy. And for the first time, he felt that humans were not just observers, they were participants. The journey ahead would be dangerous. Aliens would watch, rivals would challenge, and the stakes were higher than anything he had faced before. But Eli also knew this. Humans were resilient, adaptable, and brave. And if he acted with clarity, courage, and insight, he could show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. He turned his gaze to Lyra, who remained calm and glowing, a quiet beacon of guidance. "We can do this," she said simply. Eli nodded, feeling a mix of fear, excitement, and purpose. "We will do this," he replied. The shuttle touched down, engines humming softly, and the doors opened to a world that would test everything humanity was capable of. And as he stepped onto the planet's surface, Eli understood the truth in Lyra's words. Humans were extraordinary not because they were perfect, but because they chose to rise, to adapt, and to act, even when the odds were impossible. This was humanity's moment. And Eli was ready to show the galaxy what humans could do. The planet's surface stretched before Eli like a living map of tension and caution. Cities rose in angular towers, glinting under a pale sun, while fleets of alien ships floated in silent patrols above. Smoke curled from the outskirts of settlements where skirmishes had already begun. The air hummed with energy, technology, and unspoken threats. Eli's heart pounded. This was no simulation, this was real. Every action, every word could ignite war. Lyra hovered beside him, her glowing presence calm amidst the chaos. "Observe first," she said. "Notice patterns. Listen to what is unsaid. Human strength lies not only in force but in understanding and ingenuity." Eli nodded. He had been trained for diplomacy, negotiation, and crisis management, but this was far beyond anything Earth had demanded. Yet, he also felt the spark of confidence she inspired. Humans had always adapted in the face of danger, turning fear into opportunity, turning impossibility into survival. He could do this. Humanity could do this. Their first stop was the primary command center of one of the alien civilizations, a species known for rigid strategy, meticulous planning, and a reputation for unyielding logic. Eli stepped carefully into the hall, taking note of every detail. The layout of the room, the communication devices, the subtle body language of the officers. These were creatures of habit, predictable in many ways but still intelligent and dangerous. Lyra's voice broke his observation. "Speak carefully. You are human, but your words carry weight. Humans are often underestimated. That is your advantage. Use it." Eli cleared his throat and approached the commanding officer, who turned with a measured grace, eyes narrowing at the human intruder. "I am Eli," he said calmly, projecting confidence even as his stomach nodded. "I come as an observer and mediator. I wish to understand your concerns and help prevent unnecessary conflict." The officer's gaze lingered on him, sharp and assessing. "Why should we trust a human? the officer asked. "Your species is known for recklessness, emotion-driven decisions, and short-lived alliances." Eli smiled faintly, acknowledging the accusation while remaining composed. "Perhaps," he said, "but humans have survived disasters, adapted to impossible situations, and created solutions no one expected. That adaptability, that willingness to act, may be what is required here." A murmur ran through the room, subtle but noticeable. Eli sensed curiosity now mingling with suspicion. He had caught their attention not through force, but through reasoning and confidence. As negotiations began, Eli noticed patterns in behavior that no alien officer pointed out. Certain fleets moved in predictable cycles. Certain cities relied on resource flows that were vulnerable to interruption, and the communication signals contained subtle gaps that suggested internal conflict. He whispered his observations to Lyra, who nodded approvingly. "You are seeing what most would ignore," she said. "This is why humans can succeed where others fail. Your species' unpredictability is not a weakness, it is a strength." Eli took a deep breath and formulated a plan. He requested a temporary ceasefire between the factions, while he presented a demonstration of human ingenuity. He proposed an automated system that could redistribute energy resources to critical sectors, reducing the risk of sabotage, while also allowing both sides to maintain their military readiness. The concept was simple, yet elegant, relying on adaptability rather than brute force. The aliens hesitated, eyes scanning each other, calculating risk. Eli realized that at this moment, perception was as important as logic. Humans had always thrived in situations where careful observation, creativity, and audacity were required. And now he was being tested in the grandest arena possible. He activated a portable demonstration unit, a device Lyra had helped him calibrate, and the system came to life. Holographic projections displayed energy flows, resource distribution, and contingency measures. Eli explained each step, keeping his tone measured and confident, emphasizing how the system allowed both civilizations to preserve strength while avoiding unnecessary casualties. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then the commanding officer leaned forward, eyes widening slightly. "Intriguing," he said. "A human proposes a solution without the brute force we expected. Perhaps we have underestimated your species." Eli felt a small surge of triumph, but he didn't celebrate. The true challenge had only just begun. He still needed the other faction's approval, and tensions remained high. If he failed there, everything could unravel. Lyra guided him to the other side, a species known for their strategic cunning and aggressive tactics. Unlike the first, these aliens relied on rapid, adaptive maneuvers and unconventional strategies. Eli studied them carefully, noting that their unpredictability mirrored humanity's own strengths in some ways. He realized that understanding them required a different approach, empathy and insight rather than logic alone. He addressed the leader directly. "I am here to prevent unnecessary conflict. Humans have a perspective that values balance, adaptability, and long-term survival. I propose a solution that respects your strength while reducing risk. Allow me to demonstrate." The alien leader raised a tentacle in curiosity. "Why should we listen to a human?" Eli took a deep breath. "Because humans survive by thinking creatively, by noticing the small things, by acting when others hesitate. This planet, these fleets, this conflict, all can benefit from that approach. Observe what I propose before judging its effectiveness." He activated a second demonstration, tailored to this faction's approach. Complex simulations showed adaptive strategies that accounted for their unpredictability, preserving their mobility while integrating the first faction's automated energy distribution system. It was a delicate balance, a fusion of logic, intuition, and innovation. As the simulation unfolded, murmurs of surprise rippled through the command center. Eli watched carefully, noting subtle signs of acceptance. He had not relied on intimidation or power, only on the human traits that Lyra had praised: observation, creativity, and the courage to act decisively. The final test came unexpectedly. A hidden sabotage attempt triggered a minor power surge in the city below, threatening critical infrastructure. Both factions froze, unsure how to respond without escalating violence. Eli acted immediately, recalling procedures from the simulations and improvising adjustments in real time. He coordinated the redistribution of resources, mitigated the surge, and stabilized the system. The room erupted in astonishment. Both factions realized that the humans' quick thinking had prevented disaster. For the first time, the leaders looked at him not with suspicion or condescension, but with respect. Lyra's presence remained beside him, glowing softly, a silent affirmation of his success. "See what humans can do when they are trusted, when they act with clarity and courage," she whispered. Eli nodded, feeling a rush of pride and responsibility. Humans were not perfect, they made mistakes, they acted emotionally, and they often defied expectations. But in this moment, their uniqueness had proven invaluable. Negotiations continued, but now with a new tone. Eli's demonstrations and decisive actions had shifted the perception of humanity. The alien factions began to see that humans were capable partners, capable of insights and solutions that no one else had considered. Hours passed. As night fell over the planet, Eli finally allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought of Earth, of the billions of humans living their lives without realizing the role their species could play in the galaxy. He thought of Lyra, of her calm guidance, and of the choice she had set before him. Humanity's potential was no longer theoretical, it was real. And he had taken the first step in proving it. Lyra's hand touched his shoulder briefly. "You have done well," she said softly, "but this is only the beginning. Your species will face greater tests. Choices that will not only determine survival but respect, trust, and influence across the stars. Remember, courage and insight will guide you more than strength alone." Eli nodded. He understood. This first test had shown that humans were not just observers in the galaxy. They could act, they could think, they could adapt, and in doing so they could earn a place among civilizations far older and more advanced than their own. But even as he celebrated the small victory, he felt the weight of what lay ahead. There were still rivals, still factions who might not accept humanity's role, still forces that would test their adaptability and morality to the limits. Every decision would ripple outward, every choice would matter. And yet, for the first time, Eli felt confident. Humans were not weak. Humans were not insignificant. Humans could rise to challenges that even the most advanced civilizations might fail to meet. He glanced at Lyra. Her calm gaze held the promise of guidance, yes, but also the quiet challenge. Do you have the courage to continue? Can humans rise higher than even they imagine? Eli clenched his fists, feeling determination surge through him. "We can," he whispered. "We will." The city lights shimmered below. Fleets of alien ships moved in cautious patterns above, and Eli knew that humanity's first steps into the galaxy's larger stage were only just beginning. The test had been passed. But the real journey, the journey that would define humanity, was still ahead. And Eli, for the first time in his life, truly understood the meaning of potential. Eli stood on the observation deck of the shuttle, watching the two alien factions prepare their fleets. The tension in the air was electric. Even from orbit, the scale of the standoff was terrifying. Ships bristled with weapons, energy shields glimmered, and distant cities glowed with the preparations of war. Every instinct in his body screamed caution, but his mind was clear. Humans were not just observers, they were participants, and now their moment had arrived. Lyra floated beside him, her glow calm and steady. "This is it," she said softly. "The moment when choice matters, Not only yours but humanity's. Speak clearly, act decisively. Show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Eli nodded. His mind raced through every observation, every pattern he had noted, every subtle cue from the factions. He had prepared, improvised, and acted before. Now he had to combine all of it. He drew a deep breath, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle on him. Humans were fragile compared to these civilizations, yet their greatest strength had always been their ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. He activated the shuttle's communication array, broadcasting a message to both factions and the Allied observation councils. His voice, calm but authoritative, filled the channel. "Leaders of these factions," he began, "I am Eli, representing humanity. We have observed your standoff and we understand the stakes, but I ask you to consider a different approach, one that values life, resources, and reason over destruction." A murmur ran through the comms. The leaders listened, wary yet curious. Eli continued. "Humans have faced countless challenges. We have survived disasters, adapted to impossible situations, and created solutions no one expected. We act with courage, clarity, and insight. And it is in that spirit that I propose a solution to your conflict, one that ensures both sides maintain strength while avoiding unnecessary loss." He began detailing the combined system he had developed with Lyra: adaptive energy redistribution to stabilize infrastructure, fleet coordination to prevent accidental escalation, and neutral zones to allow communication and negotiation. He explained it with clarity, emphasizing flexibility, collaboration, and shared benefit. At first, the responses were skeptical. Both factions had centuries of tradition, hierarchy, and pride. Humans were an unknown variable, unpredictable, and untested. But as Eli demonstrated the system in real-time simulations, showing how it could prevent sabotage, optimize resource use, and maintain readiness, the skepticism began to fade. Eyes widened. Murmurs of surprise spread through both command centers. Humans were proving that observation, ingenuity, and courage could solve problems even the most advanced civilizations struggled with. Suddenly, a warning flared on Eli's console. A rogue faction ship had launched a strike against a critical city. The simulation had become reality. Civilians and soldiers alike were in immediate danger. Eli's mind raced. He had to act. Lyra's presence beside him was steady, guiding, but never interfering. Eli took control. He rerouted energy, predicted the rogue ship's path, and coordinated defensive maneuvers using the systems he had designed. Every calculation, every command, every split-second decision mattered. Humans were not physically superior, nor technologically dominant in this arena. But humans could think, adapt, and act under pressure, and that was enough. The rogue ship's attack was neutralized without significant damage. Both factions froze, staring at the results. A single, fragile human, had prevented disaster through clarity, courage, and clever strategy. Their respect began to shift. Eli exhaled, feeling both relief and the weight of what remained. The first crisis had been a test, but the larger challenge was still ahead, convincing these civilizations that humanity could be a reliable partner in the galaxy. He addressed the factions again, this time more boldly. "You have seen what a human can do in moments of crisis. Imagine what we can achieve when trusted and included. The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges none of you can face alone. Humans bring adaptability, ingenuity, and moral clarity. We can help prevent conflict, foster collaboration, and achieve results that others cannot. I ask you now, trust humans as partners. Allow us to participate, to act, and to contribute." The silence that followed was thick with tension. Then slowly the first leader spoke, his voice measured. "This human has shown courage, insight, and decisive action. Perhaps we were wrong to underestimate your species." The second leader, hesitant but curious, added, Your solution saved lives where we saw only chaos. Humans are different. Unpredictable, yes, but effective. Perhaps it is time to recognize your value." Eli felt a surge of hope. He knew this was only the beginning, but it was proof. Humans were not irrelevant. They could act, lead, and innovate in ways the galaxy did not expect. Lyra's calm gaze seemed to affirm what he already felt. Humans had earned respect, not through force or dominance, but through courage, observation, and intelligence. He continued negotiations, guiding the factions toward compromise and cooperation. Using a combination of diplomacy, strategic insight, and careful mediation, Eli helped broker an agreement. Fleets returned to patrol positions without firing, resources were stabilized, and neutral zones allowed communication channels to remain open. The first real step toward lasting peace had been taken, led by a human. As the factions slowly withdrew, Eli allowed himself a moment to breathe. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily, but there was satisfaction in seeing his species recognized. Humans had not only survived, they had influenced, guided, and prevented catastrophe. Lyra moved closer, her glow brighter in the soft light of the planet below. "You have done well," she said. "This is proof of what humans can achieve. Courage, insight, and adaptability, these are your strengths. Remember them. They will define your species' future among the stars." Eli nodded, feeling a mix of pride and humility. Humans were small, fragile, and often underestimated. But they had something no other species had in equal measure: potential. The spark of ingenuity, the courage to act when all seemed lost, and the ability to choose morality and reason over chaos. As night fell over the planet, Eli stood with Lyra, looking at the fleets retreating into orbit. He realized the galaxy had changed in a subtle but profound way. Humans were no longer insignificant observers. They had earned a seat at the table, a role as mediators, problem solvers, and partners. Their potential had been recognized. Lyra spoke softly, almost contemplatively. "Humans are remarkable because you choose to act, even when fear and uncertainty are overwhelming. You are fragile, yes, but you are resilient. You are emotional, yes, but you are wise. And above all, you are unpredictable in ways that inspire creativity and courage. That is why you matter." Eli smiled faintly, understanding the weight of her words. For centuries, humans had explored, survived, and built. Now they were being recognized for the very qualities that had always defined them. They were not perfect. They were not invincible, but they were capable of greatness in ways the galaxy had yet to fully see. He turned to Lyra. "Thank you," he said simply, "for trusting us, for seeing what we can do." She smiled, a faint curve of light across her face. "I do not thank lightly," she said. "Humans have earned this, and you have led them. That is rare." Eli felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. He had acted not for glory, not for recognition, but because he believed in the potential of his species. And now, that belief had been validated on the grandest scale imaginable. As the shuttle prepared to return to the orbital station, Eli looked back at the planet one last time. Smoke still rose from some cities, fleets still patrolled the skies, but a sense of balance had been restored. Humanity had proven itself, and this was only the beginning. Lyra's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. "The galaxy will test humans again," she said. "Always, but you now have a choice always. You have the courage, the insight, and the ability to act. Humans are ready." Eli nodded. "Then we will rise to meet those tests," he said. "We will show the galaxy what humanity can do." As they lifted into orbit, leaving the planet behind, Eli felt a profound sense of responsibility and purpose. Humans had faced impossible odds before and had survived. Now, in the vast expanse of space, they were being recognized not for dominance or conquest, but for what truly defined them: ingenuity, courage, and the power to choose wisely. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but Eli felt no fear. For the first time, he knew that humans were not merely observers of the galaxy. They were participants, shapers, and innovators, and he would ensure that humanity's potential was realized, one choice at a time. Lyra's glow illuminated the shuttle's interior, a quiet reminder of guidance, wisdom, and trust. Eli took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both responsibility and possibility. The galaxy had seen humanity's first steps, and now it would watch them rise. Humans had chosen to act, and that choice would echo across the stars.